Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the continuation of my series, Celebrity Natal Charts. And today we are going to be looking at Dame Elizabeth Rosemond Liz Taylor's natal chart. Um, of course, because she's amazing and all those things, but mostly because she has a rising Sagittarius, and that is the next sign in our series. And so, just to jump into everything, grab your favorite beverage and sit back, relax, and enjoy this reading. Um, I'm drinking generic citrus twist soda from Aldi's. That's what I'm drinking. That's my beverage that I am enjoying throughout this reading. Okay, so she has a rising Sagittarius. That means like sort of like at her nature as she's gotten throughout her life, as she's gotten older throughout her life, she would become like more competitive. Um, Her second house, which is her priority, her house of priorities and her greatest resource of Capricorn, which says that it's like her career. So for some other people, like if they had Cancer in their second house, it's like maternity is their greatest priority and their greatest resource to their life. So, maybe they would have a child with someone who's like very wealthy, or marry someone very wealthy or something like that. With her, as that might actually been a pattern in her life, what actually gave her more financial stability or were the things that she created in her career and legacy. Um, okay, and then her third house of Aquarius, there's also Saturn. So it's almost like speaking to her friends or talking about her friends cause a lot of limitations in her life. This could be like gossip, tabloids, whatever. People talking about her, or friends talking about her, which I've seen as like somewhat of like a um, uh, common thing going on with Pisces. And her fourth house, where she has Mars, her Sun, Mercury, Lilith, and her North Node in Pisces, says that maybe she had some type of like perhaps she spoke to psychics a lot, or she did some type of readings for her friends very often, and perhaps felt like it was more aligned with her destiny than anything else. And she needed a lot of like guidance and protection from maybe like stepmother figures in her life. Uh, she probably talked about astrology in her private life a lot, or at least like being a Pisces and things like that, and identifying with her astrological sign, um, and maybe like very aggressively. And then in her fifth house, we have fifth house. She has Aries and also the planet Uranus, which says to me like she's very angry at a lot of her friends, or a lot of her friends are very angry at her. There's a lot of energy of like anger, embarrassment, and frustration around like her friendships, and like I said earlier, like them talking about her, or very much could be like the opposite, like them not talking about her and not talking to her at certain periods of her life. Um, which I guess like perhaps was like a huge obstacle. And also because we have her fifth house in Venus. So this is like the thing too with like yelling and angry and being like demanding, which I forget who else chart I saw this in. I think it was Flavor Flav, whose like chart is apparently my favorite to talk about throughout this series. It's like her powers of attraction are stronger when she's angry. So if she's like, "Oh, may I have this, please?" or "Could you get that for me, please?" Like no one will listen to her, but she's like, "Give me this, god damn it!" Like people are more willing to give her the things that she wants to attract. And so, but this might be like really difficult to her. Maybe she doesn't really like to be like too demanding or angry um, with people. Whereas we also see we have Uranus in this position as well. So that, like that's a planet of like discomfort and awkwardness, because like what happens, when you're sitting there 15 minutes later after you yelled at somebody. Um, so how how would she, how could she, how should she have healed this is with the Taurian energy of her sixth house, which is like saving money. So maybe like money kind of like gave her an appetite and a little bit of like anger. Um, and then her seventh house of relationships, we have Gemini here. So you never know like people's like secret love lives and like the authenticity of their love lives and things like that. Because I would say like Gemini in the seventh house is somebody who enjoyed having multiple marriages or multiple partners simultaneously. Like I said, it reminds me of like a cabaret song like Two Ladies. So Gemini is like a really good connection for her. But I always see like the seventh, or I've started to see or started to analyze or read in a way that interprets the seventh house as short-term relationships, whereas like the ninth house talks more about like long-term relationships and marriage. And so, but moving to her eighth house of where she has Cancer and the planet of Pluto, sign of Cancer, planet of Pluto, in her eighth house, which says to me that so as I'm saying, like her career is her greatest resource. Maybe maternity is like what kind of like drained her energy or felt like it was like killing her and made her go through a lot of like changes that she didn't need to go through or didn't want to go through. Like she really wanted to cling on to her past or cling on to like her youth. And in her ninth house of Leo, and we also have the planet Jupiter here. Um, this says to me that like I think it's look, when I was looking at the Adam Levine chart and I think like him having like the rising Leo, and I was like there's just something like very like California, Hawaii, like Pacific coast about him. I do see like a lot of these Pisces charts, like if Jupiter's not in the first house, it is like in their the house in which they have like Pisces or Leo, where it's like going to California or Hollywood has been very beneficial for them, or somewhere very similar. Hollywood, Hawaii, something like that, something very Leo. Um, which is like sort of obvious to say in a celebrity natal chart reading, but probably isn't something that you would see in everybody, every average Joe's natal chart. But it might be like a pattern that we see throughout this series. Um, and then it also says that Leo is like a really good match for marriage. And then with Jupiter also actually like retrograde in her eighth house in the sign of Leo, um, does once again like talk about like multiple long term marriages, forever expanding. So like the first second one longer than the last, or shorter, or some type of like time lapse going on there. And in her 10th house, we have the sign of Virgo and the planet of Neptune, which is kind of like either balancing or conflicting energies. A lot of these planets I'm looking at her chart are sort of retrograde. Her Lilith, her Pluto, her Jupiter, her Neptune. Um, but the 10th house is all about like your career and destiny. And we have Neptune here, which I keep telling people, especially in this celebrity natal chart series, that represents sort of like illusions. So something that broadcasts illusion. So if that's not her appearing in your dreams, then that is her being on the television or movie screen, or them playing her movies on television, which was her career. And it was a really great resource to her, but is also communicated in her natal chart. And in her 11th house, we have Libra. So I think like the people that she dated or the people that she dates do tend to either become friends or start off friends first, and that makes her more comfortable. So I think that's like the expanding relationships she actually, perhaps in retrospect, didn't mind. having so many marriages because they all ended up being friends anyway. And what truly made her miserable in her 12th house is Scorpio. So maybe it was like, growing older and people not wanting to have sex with her as much or as frequently, and not feeling sexy anymore. People born under the sign of Scorpio could have made her miserable. But as I've been saying in this, like specifically this Pisces part of celebrity natal chart readings, that uh, you know, someone under the sign of Scorpio. So if she like married someone who was a Scorpio or dated a Scorpio, or had a feud with someone who's a Scorpio, like would have made her miserable. And with the moon, that these feelings of misery would kind of like wax and wane very frequently, because the moon is one of the most the closest celestial body to us as little people on this planet. Okay. So that is what I see about Dame Elizabeth Rosamond Liz Taylor's natal chart. And that's sort of what you can expect when you would do a private natal chart reading. Probably more in depth. I'm trying to make these like quicker because as we're trying to make more long term, what is it called, long format content. I don't want to prattle and just like keep going on and on about nothing. And I'm trying to get more content out about like natal chart readings and more tarot readings and things like that. And we're just kind of like cruising and bruising along in this celebrity natal chart reading series. But I guess like something I guess I would want to mention, as I've mentioned in like three other videos, but not every single last one of them, is that her lunar astrology or Chinese astrology is that of the water monkey, which goes back into actually what I was saying about Flavor Flav's natal chart, where I was like, man, like, um, these lunar astrology signs are very like mean. Flavor Flav having this Earth being an Earth pig, but the more unflattering your sign is, the more auspicious it's supposed to be, the more lucky, the more fortunate, the more of a blessing it is supposed to be. So I was like, I'm proud, like me myself, like I was like, I'm proud of being a water monkey. Um, but I don't know, I feel like Earth Pig would hurt my feelings, but also that's probably why I'm not born as an Earth Pig. And she's a water monkey, he's an Earth Pig. Drew Barrymore was a wood rabbit, and those are the only people that I have that information for and looked up recently. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I will see you in my next video. Bye.